ekigadde. Because on an intro once again.
So you're welcome on Black Hot Fire Network, Africa. Maria from Kampala, Uganda, with my colleague. INNOSSETU, we are riding you straight from Kampala, the heart of Uganda. Anyways, today is a Monday, of course, the 11th of December, and it's exactly 39 minutes past 9 a.m. here in Uganda. Today's topic is just as interesting as it is the agendas to depopulate Africa. This is a topic that apparently everyone has been talking about for quite a long time, but we're also here to explore and exploit the basics of this topic in particular. So yeah. Ah, how has your weekend been, guys? We hope you have enjoyed this. You know, we have started December. People are preparing for the birth of Jesus Christ, Christmas. So they always say this is a merry season where we got the Merry Christmas, and all that stuff. So I guess you know, babe. Mwana gwekimanyi bw'odabika mungi nga nina enviiri zange.
Mm. Lekera
Nalabidde.
so
Yekerako. Atanga taliika. Abwe hotspot nga sigira.
hotspot
Wi-Fi.
so
abantu baganya okumpa.
Hmm.
Njogera obwogezi nkooye okulaba nti sorry uh, a connection issue. Um, apparently, I don't know why the internet is a little bit disturbing of late on and because I guys don't want that disturbing of late. Um, at times it becomes more, it disturbs a lot when we are in the studios trying to get for the signals and you can't find the signals, but whatever. We are here and today's discussion about the agenda, the UN agenda of depopulating um, the world or Africa. It's something that has been going on for a very long time. But before we dive into that, let's first get to know like why is it important for Africa? Why is it important for these people to depopulate Africa, or why are they focusing a lot on depopulating Africa? Why are they focusing a lot on depopulating Africa? And first of all, you all know that Africa is a resourceful nation. Africa is a nation that is rich in minerals. And we know for a very long time, Africa has been, of course, exploited and it's still being exploited. And I feel like the greed of wanting to exploit Africa as a nation goes beyond wanting just minerals, but to the desire that people have to possess the entire African nation and to wipe out the African people, because the only way you can claim a given area, or the only way you can claim what the people have, is probably to wipe them away from the surface of the earth. And this is the population control agenda is basically for, of course, aiming at controlling the world's population. Usually, there is an we see people keep on preaching about Africa being poor and some other countries being poor. So, as poor people, you don't have the right to have children. The rich are trying to arrange themselves like they are the ones who should be living, so because for them they can afford their lives, and those who can't afford to live, or those who cannot afford a better life, will be wiped away and stuff like that. But this agenda population target is to depopulate Africa, though um and of course to control Africa, because it is a little bit threatening for people who are in control to realize that there is a population that is growing time and again, and they are so scared that they may fail to have control over this rapidly growing population. And for a very, very long time, that Africa has been a target. We have seen scenarios like diseases, vaccination, um, wars, you know, hazards and stuff like that, of course, being created for the purpose of destroying or depopulating Africa. Now, there are a lot of forums that have been introduced, and of course, death is one of the well populated, so it's very important that three things happen. The first thing that you control the rate at which people are giving birth. Two, the ones you increase the rate at which people are dying. That is two. Three, the third one is to make sure you control that process of childbearing. And the control of the process of childbearing is where we see things like homosexuality coming in the picture. We see controlling childbirth is where we are seeing the increased cesarean birth system in Africa, family planning system in Africa. And the third one of death, of course, increasing the rate of the death rates. We are seeing a lot of ailments, sicknesses, viruses, conflicts, and everything being introduced or imposed on in Africa, which of course is playing a role in the depopulation. Now, among the three key factors people always focus on as they are trying to depopulate, child control, death rate control. And when I say control, I'm not like they're trying to control it. Of course, they're trying to increase it. uh, and then the other, that process. And also through that death, we are going to look at the measures. We are going to look at the measures they have taken. We are going to look at what they are doing to increase the death rate of the Africans. We're also going to look at what they are doing to reduce the birth rate of the Africans. We are also going to look at what they are doing to control birth or to control the process of birth rates. Now, for those who are Africans out there and they would love to see the categories and how these things are unfolding on motherland, you're welcome yet on this particular episode where we are going to lighten you about the things that are going on in Africa that a lot of Africans look at and think they are just normal things, but uh, there are normal things where they don't know that these things are aiming at depopulating Africa. Innocent. Narafuka noba bakubanika
Okay.
ekyayi
What?
nedde ekyayi kati tandikira wali oba ogenda kwogera ku ndwadde
Mm. Mm.
otandika kuba kati mbadde mbamenyeramu
Mm.
tandikira ku
So,
ndwadde.
so yeah. First and foremost, we know that the population as a word, it means reduction in numbers of a certain area. Um, so the population generally, there are a lot of things. I don't know why the Bazungus don't look into their populations, don't look into the economic system, don't look into. I don't know how depopulating Africa helps the Bazungus, but we see that all the measures, the agendas to depopulate Africans, they have put a lot of measures in populating Africans. So one of the most top thing amongst all, they are the diseases. Today on African soil, we see a lot of diseases, outbreaks of diseases, various diseases in Africa. Not because Africans will have a poor personal hygiene, not because Africans will have a poor sanitation, not because Africans we don't care for ourselves, not because Africans we are so ignorant about certain things that are a threat to our health, but these diseases these diseases have been brought to African soils to to deal with um, to deal with the population. Today, in very many African countries, including Uganda, we see that there are diseases that kill people every day. There are diseases we have in Africa that even reach an extent of having no cure. There are diseases we know in Africa that if you get that disease and you're not well off, you're going to die a mysterious death. There are diseases in Africa that are not explainable, that have no trace, that have no root where they came from. So, um, first of all, HIV is worldwide. Yeah, HIV is worldwide. But you'll find out that most African countries they have HIV, very many people with HIV. And of course, HIV has made African people miserable, has made people to neglect each other. HIV has made people to die and leave their families. So when you look at the diseases, the very many diseases that have been brought out, um, in African lands, because of course these diseases, if we trace their origin, they are not African based diseases. These are diseases that are brought by these Wazungus to Africa in the name of depopulating Africa. Of course, people are dying every day of different diseases in hospitals. People die because of lack of cure for those diseases. People die because of the hopelessness they get after getting these diseases. So um the measure of diseases, it has worked. Very many Africans ask why is it that you have very many diseases in Africa? If we trace back to the recent pandemic that has been worldwide, very many people in Africa have died. Very many people have died. So this has decreased populations amongst people. We normally see about the Ebola disease that is normally in the Eastern Congo, killing very many Congolese. We normally see cholera in Zimbabwe currently killing very many people. So the issue of diseases in Africa has depopulated African people. And these diseases, they are the diseases that have no cure, the diseases that have to get a medication for these diseases, it is extremely very expensive to support. So this has made people to die, to die of these diseases. So we know that in Africa, apart from COVID-19, which was recent, we have cholera, we have Ebola, we have measles, yellow fever, monkeypox, yeah, malaria, among others. We don't know it that these are reportedly emerging infectious diseases, uh, which of course contribute to death of very many people. But we know that the wood, we know that mm, mm,
Oh, these most of these diseases that you've mentioned,
mm,
we are very aware that they are man-made.
mm,
We are very aware that these diseases
mm,
have been manufactured
mm,
or have been laboratory made
mm.
to focus on depopulating Africa. When you look to the Jarabe, When you look at, of course, they will say that HIV AIDS as a pandemic, it has claimed like 40 million
mm,
people around year 2021.
mm,
2021,
mm,
it claimed the 40 million.
mm,
And if we say death tolls, we are not talking about those who have remained infected.
mm,
We are looking at those who have died.
mm,
Now, if you look at most of these diseases, first of all, they are created for a certain age group. When you look at HIV/AIDS, we are looking at the sexual active age ranges. Because of course HIV/AIDS is transmitted through sexual contacts and probably some few accidents which are not very common, like the transfusion of blood and other
mm,
things.
mm,
But majorly, if we are looking at a sexually active age, this is the age that is childbearing, and that means they are hitting two birds with one stone. People are dying and unable to produce. To that point, there is when HIV struck, when HIV was at its peak, a lot of people were afraid of giving birth. And people who had HIV were so afraid that they were scared of having children, that they would infect their children. Until, of course, there is something that came in a picture that you can be HIV positive and have an HIV free child. That campaign, the campaign also ran through the road, but still, some people, even till today, they're a little bit scared. They know that it is impossible. So, there was a certain time when Africa was depopulated
mm,
because of, those significant that diseases. Two, now that people are getting to know that disease, HIV isn't that
mm,
threatening like they imagined,
mm,
though it threatens me, by the way.
mm, mm,
There is that comfortability
mm,
that people are beginning to have. Apparently, like HIV/AIDS has become like a day-to-day sickness that people no longer fear
mm,
because people have lived with the their families, and you know they have seen their families who have been affected by HIV, and they have lived even more than the ones who have been sick, who have not been sick. So you can see that it has become a day-to-day thing now that these people have
mm,
to have another strategy. And usually, I don't know why people think that it is okay for the world to have sicknesses. And first of all, if we go back to the Bible, now this is where the problem comes.
mm,
If you go back to the Bible gives people the comfortability. You
mm,
understand? It gives them the comfortability. First of all, it says, when I'm angry, that's when God is angry. The signs will be
mm,
sickness. That's when God is angry. You understand? Is it not about? It's not about it.
mm,
The Bible does that says the signs that shows that God is angry with the world
mm,
is the sicknesses. Kitegeeza mukoze ebibi bingi.
mm,
Kitegeera? The sicknesses, and this is why people are comfortable about this, and they blame them. The Africans blame themselves. They blame themselves for the sicknesses that are in Africa. Apparently, they keep saying we have seen the Lord, but I don't think Africans has basinizo kwenkana abazungu.
mm,
Kitegeera? What makes them think that they are paying for the crimes? What makes them think that they are paying for the crimes?
mm,
To the point that Africans are very comfortable and they blame themselves for the predicaments that are befalling Africa, all because of religion. Someone will tell you HIV came because we sinned a lot. So Jesus sent HIV down to Africa to wipe
Our sinners.
away sinners. People were having sex a lot.
Mm,
But there's no way in the Bible where it said that sex is a sin. unless maybe well, it says that if you're not married, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have had sex a lot, we have sinned a lot. That's why now Jesus decided to send us this sexual infection. He said it in the Bible, it was written that these are the signs.
Mm-hmm.
Together. So a population like this, a population that doesn't know that what is harming you is something that was drafted, is a terrible population, is a population that is very naive. So Africans began to take this as a predicament that was put unto them by God. They started embracing these sicknesses as, carrying them, that let me carry my cross because this is what Jesus apparently has decided for me. I have sinned a lot. How about the children who are being born now with HIV AIDS when even they have not had sex before? So which cross are they carrying? But of course, this is how far African mentality is. So they know, first of all, engulfing your mind, enslaving your mind not to be able to think straight is one of the weapons they used. And now the seeds they are planting are just the usual things. So that we began to embrace HIV/AIDS, that it became part of the lives of the Africans. Every time and then I'm always I'll show you that platform on Facebook, where apparently HIV positive men in South Africa and women created. So they look for relationships. Apparently, never breaking up, never looking for other relationships. Someone boldly comes and say, I'm HIV positive, and I'm having two children and stuff like that. And it's a daily thing that people are no longer afraid of. Now, all these sicknesses, some people will tell you stories. HIV came about, somebody slept with a dog and stuff. They have all their stories. There are stories that we are told that the world feels that are right. So Africans do not really know that these diseases were diseases that were manufactured to depopulate Africans. And actually, HIV has played a very huge role because a lot of people are orphans because of HIV. Altogether, HIV has left a lot, a lot of children orphans. If you don't have, if you have not lost, if you are not a total orphan, like if you have not lost both your parents, at least you've lost one. That is, of course, 95% of Africa's orphan population. Most of 95% of the orphans have lost their parents in the cold hands of HIV/AIDS. So that means that and by the way, people who died of HIV those days were youth, were young people, the ages of 30, 38,
Not crossing,
35,
not even crossing the
not
40.
crossing 40. We didn't have all the people die of HIV. We had the youths, we had the vibrant young people. That was the highest population of people who died. Now, these are the people who are shaping the future. These are the people who are building the future. These are the people we are supposed at that time to, of course, expand on the Africans' legacy and, of course, the population. But we lost a lot of people in the 1990s, I think. Brown yali agamba ono omusajja yayimba Filembu yava mu 94. Are you sure? Ono omusajja mu 94 bwetwo twanditegedde. Oh, it was so soon.
It may be possible.
Who was that? It was like Brown. Yeah, he was talking about all those people. But I feel like those people would have died there. Awa! Theophila Zambia.
Yeah.
1989. This dude was saying, yeah,
What I remember it was 38.
you were 38 years.
Yeah, yeah, but China started going to more comparing that to
I don't be afraid.
this is going and asking about
Yeah, you are.
that.
Good. Good. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
That was the game.
Ah, by the way, man, ndeyava mu 18 nsaba naye mbadde ŋŋamba 84 kati olowooza lwaki ŋŋamba mbu nno 84 ezisuunu sitole
94.
zandiba 94
Mm.
sitole zandibadde ziri fresh mutegera newankubadde we wouldn't have experienced him naye zandibadde fresh nze wakiri nze gwandibadde tojja zitegeera
What genocide is fresh.
kati ate ne genocide sagitegeera but it would be fresh oba kitegeera naye ffe coming in the picture Christmas bakubanga ennyimba ze but he wasn't in the he wasn't
For
around
me,
because me apparently
for me, I didn't
bazaala
even,
mu 94
I didn't know that a guy was even HIV until I saw those films.
Alright.
Anyway, the introduction, if we go back in history, we know that the introduction of slave trade in East Africa pro- produced new patterns of settlement. So more people began to live in close proximity for security reasons more than more people began living close, yeah, proximity and previously inhabited areas became large forests that were breeding grounds for
Andi akweteeka endwala.
anti olaba era bali babireeta
Mm.
abazungu
kati tusinzira ku story onyumyeko ku ngeri gye babiri kyadde tumanyi
Kitegeera.
sinzira awo.
So, more contact with slave trade and settlers led to introduction of smallpox and jiggers. Okitegeera. In addition, Europeans also introduced cholera, yellow fever, and meningitis. Some believe, we believe that the diseases were deliberately introduced by Europeans to make it easier to subdue the local people. So Arabs in Uganda, we know that were believed to have introduced sexually transmitted diseases, including a particular strain of syphilis. Also, the introduction of gonorrhea in the equatorial region of Africa led to the low birth rates in the early 20th century.
The Arabs, and it is funny, the funniest thing is that most of the Africans balina mu mind zaabwe bwe ba Arabs tebali sex predators. Kitegeera? But those people were. By introducing jiggers, jiggers was like a business to them. Kitegeera? They introduced jiggers nga baagala ku marketinga safety pins. Kitegeera? They were introducing jiggers. Baleeta syphilis. Gonorrhea, by the way, has occupied the big areas of Africa, in particular areas of Africa, and most of these infections were, of course, introduced by foreigners. In Africa, we didn't have that. They introduced other things. Cholera, when you look at cholera, it is usually characterizing with the dirty water, a lot of stories that come along with cholera. But you mean to say it is Africa that has dirty water and stuff, the sewage? Now we don't see cholera affecting the street people. Yet some of them sleep in the gutters. Some of them sleep in the streets. Some of them sleep where the sewage pours. There is always answers to all these infections, which always drive to make Africans feel guilty that we have had this infection because we are careless. We are having these diseases come because of our own making. There is always a way. All the things, but we know most of these diseases are, of course, planned. They are created, they are planned. Meningitis. Meningitis apparently affects the cerebrum. It affects that part. Have you ever seen someone suffering from meningitis? Meningitis, the fact that when I would have meningitis, I think I was, by the way, I lost a classmate due to meningitis. I think the term meningitis was introduced when we were in elementary school. So growing up studying in boarding school, we had this new girl. She was new at school, and like we sleep on decks sometimes. Akange kalinga in the middle, nakatanda
Banks.
I think mine was I don't know when meningitis was introduced, but I remember that scenario. Until I was sleeping. I think I was sleeping down. No, I was sleeping in the middle. While she was sleeping up. So she was a new girl. But I'm forgetting. Hey, she died in a weird way. When you have meningitis, you feel like ekintu kiba kikusika. Emiswa gyonna kiba kikuleega. You feel like oyina desire okwestretchinga, oyina desire y'okukola buli kimu kyonna kiba stuff. So at night, I saw her stepping down, and if I remember that the death of that my dormitory mate, my roommate, scared me a lot.
Mm.
Uh, I think if I was uh, maybe a little bit grown up, maybe we would have saved her, but we were all kids. And I remember she came down once again
Mm.
from that bed. She stepped down, and I was like, because I heard her because she stepped on my bed when she was going down.
Mm.
So I just told her, Sarah, if I wake up in the morning, I find Sus, I'll just know you have Susu down there. What are you doing down there?
Mm.
And she didn't say, she didn't say a thing. I said, you keep on doing what you are doing. But in the morning, that is what I said.
The family.
Yakawansi n'apama. That is meningitis ekulega n'owulira nga olina desire okola poop. It can pull your neck.
Yes.
Ndowooza twali mu pito. It can pull your neck like you die. Kati, she didn't say, but I think she felt that urge. Otegera. Kati when I told her, she didn't reply. Teyanziramu. N'akwata ekkubo. Wabula teyaddayo. So gwanze nali makati yeebaka wano ewoona omwana ali wansi. She couldn't climb up.
Mm.
So she was down there, and the girl who was sitting down yafukanga nnyo Joanna. Kati ye nga bamuteeka nnyo wansi. Kati Joanna olw'engeri gy'ali yeebaka ennyo, she didn't know that this girl was on her bed. So in the morning, I woke up. I was waking up. I think it happened like at around 4. So waking up in the morning, I saw like like poop on the floor. I was like, Sarah, I told you, I knew it. That's why you were stepping down at night. I climbed up to see if she was there. She wasn't. And she was down here. But by the time I was like, Sarah, I knew I'm touching the girl, her head had turned. Go, that's how meningitis does. It breaks your head like someone has. This is what I saw. Her head had turned to the other side. It was no longer facing. We made noise. I made sure stiff. But so the infections of a virus were affecting the spinal cord, were affecting obongo. So I think by the time they took her to the hospital, she was already dead. And before that, that day before that incident happened, they had come to vaccinate us for meningitis. Because we are all vaccinated, and people started saying, she hid. Because like you believed so much into the vaccination. She has died of meningitis. She hid herself. She ran and hid. You see, now she has died. Stuff. Everyone who ran away from being vaccinated started crying, thinking they are going to die. But the fact remains, I think she was vaccinated, and that was the repercussion of that medicine that showed that she was sick. But so if you look at all the things, first of all, Africa is a clean continent. Yes, I know we have slums, but it is a clean continent. We haven't been so highly pollutioned, or we have not been so pollutioned like other cities in the world. So why should cholera particularly choose Africa? Yet we have it, because if they give you the description of cholera, of course cholera is dirty water, dirty stuff. So why particularly Africa? Africa should be even the last place where cholera should be, because we know there are some other places in Nganchafu for real. They are very polluted, they are dirty and all stuff. We haven't grown to that level of having a lot of sewages in Africa. Because even until now, we still have a percentage of our population in Africa that still uses latrines.
mm,
So when we are looking at the circumstances at which cholera comes, the one in Africa is just a genetical cholera.
mm,
Because cholera tesakubuuka bifo nga US. Uganda nga waliwo gate ziri ey'enkyafu.
India.
Mbunejja mu Africa. Tesakubuuka bifo nga India. It comes to
To
Africa.
Africa.
But of course, tumanyi nti Africa is usually categorized with that, infections, a lot of things. But in Zimbabwe, we are the most healthy people. If we look at the real side, the true side
Mm,
of it, because there are a lot of things we don't involve with. It's just okay, we eat well. Check it out.
mm,
It's really our daily life, really well. People may look at our life like it's poor. Then we are living a healthy life. Kuba mufiri kagenda kumakya n'akubbaawo akagere n'atambula n'agenda gy'alaga. You understand? Oba n'akwata ku dduuka n'agenda. Abantu mu dduuka tebatambuzaamu bigere bavuga mmotoka. In the morning nkedde ekyo kimala. I woke up, I went to the store with my walking, I bought sugar. I went, I bought tea, and I'm about to go and buy something to eat. I'm not driving, I'm not having it. Always say that. So there is no way you can be categorizing such a nation which has very active people who are physically active. And you start saying they are the ones who are falling sick. Every predicament, apparently.
mm,
So, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who have never been here who don't really understand this. So we have had infectious diseases which have continued to be the cause of mortality in Africa. We know the emerging of emerging of diseases like malaria, tuberculosis, HIV/AIDS, cholera, meningitis, hepatitis, stomatiasis, hepatic filariasis, sleeping sicknesses, Ebola, SARS, and others are causing suffering and mortality to a world population in developing countries in general and in Africa in particular.
point in that. Another point that has caused point in the causing agenda.
We also know they have another gender that has been said, of course, which is derived from the previous one that we've talked about. When diseases are introduced, there is always a plan B that they make people believe that now that you've suffered from cholera, we have a shot, a vaccination for you. So we have had vaccinations in Africa that are claimed to be vaccinations that are preventing us from acquiring diseases in one way or the other. For example, I'm going to look at these vaccinations that have been introduced to Africa. We have I've had people claim, for example, this may not be as strong because it is not dead, but I'm going to give you something because I'm driving at a particular discussion. Do you know that most people who have polio, they tell us polio comes from the infected feces?
Sure.
Yeah. So when an infected person with polio does poo, that bacteria, the polio bacteria or poliovirus, whatever, comes, enters your body. It enters your body. Yeah, you see, contact with infected feces from poor hand washing. It can also happen from eating or drinking contaminated food or water. If you look at all these things, if you look at most of the sicknesses, they always categorize them with association in Africa. So they believe you don't wash your hands, they believe you eat dirty stuff. They are always categorized with the processes that go about in Africa. But actually, for a very long time, Africans have been doing the culture they are doing and they have not been having sickness. Now I'm driving you back to this particular polio shit. I have never I've never seen someone who wakes up and they say, I just had polio. I woke up one morning and my leg was like this.
mm,
It usually comes after the shot.
mm, mm,
It usually comes after the shot.
mm. And actually, whenever you look at someone who has that leg, who was a leg
The story they will tell you I was shot.
short, yeah.
They vaccinated me
Mm,
from there. So if I told I've never I've seen people with polio, I've seen people with polio, I've seen people with polio. There is no one who tells you they woke up one day and their leg cannot move anymore.
mm,
There is no one who told you our staff they were shot. Someone will say, I had an injection.
mm,
I had a polio injection. As soon as I was injected, I did not feel my leg anymore.
mm,
If it is a child, even their leg turns.
mm,
If it can even become small,
mm.
it infects. So if this shot was basically created to do that, why is it that it's the shot that is introducing this? Anyway, that one I wanted to give you as an example, even though it has not led to many deaths. I'm trying to drive you to this. We have had uh, scenarios where people say, of course, you know about HIV, you know about malaria, you know about all the diseases. After them introducing all this bundle, all this package of diseases and infections, now, like I said, Africans always have that mechanism. Our immune system is so strong that if something stays long within Africa, Africans start bouncing that infection back. That even people will even we have had I've seen people who have had even sex with direct infected people. I've seen people who are married
Mm,
and their husbands have died of HIV and they are still fine and they
mm,
have given birth and they have not been having protected sex
mm,
because they've been having children and somebody is still fine.
mm,
There is a way the immune system of Africans creates that mechanism of bouncing back the infections. And I know these people who draft all these diseases always have a plan B. And where does the plan B come? In the vaccination. You know, when you're going for a medical test, they'll always tell you
mm.
negative and positive.
I used to hear those tests.
The test of what, boy?
Those
All
tests,
the tests that they
those
ran,
blood
the blood
tests.
tests that they ran.
Mm,
So when you go to test, they will give you something is reactive, non-reactive.
mm,
If something is non-reactive in actual sense, that means that thing is dormant.
mm.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
That means probably that thing is existing, but it is dormant.
Mm,
It
mm,
is non-reactive. It
mm,
needs an activator.
catalyst.
It needs a catalyst that's going to speed it up
Mm,
so that it can be active.
mm,
That's why when you go for HIV testing, they will tell you non-reactive or negative.
mm,
There are those medical
mm,
terms that usually people use. At times I'm thinking like, why if something is not existing in my body, why should they call it non-reactive? Okay, probably the chemicals they have used have not reacted.
mm,
Then or if the virus is in my body, that means my blood is going to react to that chemical. I'm trying to find the dots. But usually there are circumstances when these people get to know that Africans immune systems are fighting, or it's like we are getting used to the things that they no longer cause us harm. They always have the plan B's. And usually this plan B comes with a solution. They will tell you we are introducing a solution to this disease. Um, we have now had malaria in Africa for God knows how long.
mm,
Definitely for a long time. We're all born. We all had malaria. Me, I almost died of malaria as I was growing up as a child. My mom says that. Um, I think I was unconscious for a very long time as I was growing up. And when I woke up from that, my life was never the same. That's what my mom says. A lot of things had changed about me. But that was because of malaria. Oh, wait. Go on.
What else? Okay.
So, um, after that time, when they introduced these shots or whatever, if I use the word vaccination, they may even scrap off this topic, but it is okay. They say that now we are introducing a vaccine that is going to protect you from malaria. Now, before even the vaccine, before the vaccine, they first said they're introducing mosquitoes. They were very open. They said, we are introducing genetically modified mosquitoes. These genetically modified mosquitoes are created in a way that they are going to eat those other Anopheles mosquitoes that we have known for a very long time.
Yeah.
So the genetically modified mosquitoes, apparently, some people were like, all right, you can do it. Other people were like, no, but basically most of the African population refused. But they were brought anyway. They are forcefully brought. So these genetically modified mosquitoes, when they came, they did not only bring genetically modified mosquitoes, they brought genetically modified disease vectors throughout Africa. Cockroaches are no longer cockroaches. Let's check it. You find a cockroach which has a very strong shell. It has been remodeled. Mosquitoes, you were here standing yesterday and you were telling me these houseflies are biting. You saw like there are something to be
To be
mosquitoes.
sincere, I grew up knowing mosquitoes don't bite during the yeah. The mosquitoes find you during the big ones. They bite you.
They don't bite during the.
That's what I thought. I grew up knowing that mosquitoes don't bite during the
So a mosquito bit INNOSSETU yesterday. It was a mosquito, but he was saying it was a fly because it was too huge that he could not believe. We grew up knowing mosquitoes are very tiny.
yeah.
That's why we used to categorize tiny people, slim people, like, yeah, this is a mosquito. In school, that's how they used to bull slim people, mosquito stuff. But nowadays, mosquitoes are huge. You can no longer call someone that. So they modified all these vectors, all disease vectors, that nowadays they don't appear the way they were. That even if you fumigate, they be far. Because they were created, they were built with that mechanism of, preventing itself from themselves from those, medicines and stuff. Um, so when they introduced that mosquitoes, of course, those modified mosquitoes went ahead and fed on the mosquitoes that were introduced first. Tezikyaliwo. Now, as we had malaria in Africa, of course, we adapted new methods of preventing malaria. Now, one of before I jump to the local methods of preventing malaria, they introduced the mosquito net. I don't even use that thing. I'm very reactive to mosquito nets. One, they suffocate me. Two, remember there is always a word that comes along, that treated
mosquito net.
mosquito
Net.
net. That if you sleep under a non-treated mosquito net, you have not actually prevented yourself from malaria. You ought to sleep under a treated mosquito net. When they are issuing out this treated mosquito net, the first time, walaba obusiri bugwa, si nnyo ne bufa, oyinza n'okukola bw'oti akatimba ne weeyiwa. kitegeera, and you yourself ne kakukoonako bwe kati owedde. But remember, these are the chemicals we are inhaling.
By the way, I remember when I was still young, they used to give out mosquito nets
Yeah.
in the villages. The
Even of
government, yeah,
recent.
they used to give. But for me, like whenever they always used to tell us that if you get these mosquito nets, you have to put them under the sunshine for some good time. Yesterday, I remember the first time I slept in that thing, I had irritation,
Now,
burning sensation.
yeah, ekirina nti the other chemical
Mm.
ekibeerako. Yeah, it's true. So imagine nti weebakamu eno, you are inhaling,
Mm.
teweebisse, weebaka, oli mu kussa, you are breathing in all those chemicals. Oshagera, there is a lot that comes along with all the things. But anyway, people went ahead and started buying mosquitoes and others, mosquito nets and others didn't and stuff. So they introduced a vaccination that they claim. It's a yellow fever. I've not seen people die of yellow fever. But ekintu yellow fever bagitijjisa that you cannot even get a passport if you don't have a yellow fever card.
Yeah, I remember I was vaccinated. Simaina Gondi
Yellow
I was vaccinated sometime back, but I don't know where I even
naye nga
managed.
yellow fever nsigimanyi nagimanyi. Nanimanyi gwe guno gundi eno ey'enkaka eya yellow. You're throwing up yellow things. Naye ate bagamba yellow fever, it makes you yellow.
Sure.
Your eyes were yellow, stuff. I don't know because I've never seen it. But of course, people go ahead and vaccinate. Cut in malaria, they're introducing a malaria vaccination. Yet Africans have been controlling malaria before. In fact, they introduced this genetically, the second modified mosquito that has been eating the other first modified mosquito. This is an improved mosquito. They are all modified, but this is an improved one. So now that this mosquito is in the picture, it bites. When you go for treatment, you don't get cured. If you use the treatment that people have been using for a very long time, you don't get healed. So they started saying that you cannot get healed from this malaria. We need to vaccinate you people. Remember, so these mosquitoes that are apparently biting people nowadays, these big mosquitoes we are having, must be infecting people with a certain type of thing that we are yet to understand. And this is why they are coming with the method of vaccinating. Malaria has been in Africa for a very long time. They have not been vaccinating this malaria. Why is it that now they want to vaccinate after they have introduced this new improved mosquito that is biting us, that even it actually feeds on those other new old mosquitoes? Why are they introducing this vaccination now? Because there is a hidden reason behind it. And I don't know how, when people are going to do that. But I'm going vaccinating abantu ne malaria. And two, another vaccination, the HIV vaccination. Like I told you that Africans had become, our immune system has now started fighting back HIV, and they know it. And that's why people have been able to live with the HIV from birth, and someone lives for 70 years, someone lives for 60 years. Someone gets HIV when they are 15, they live with HIV for 70. Someone says that I've lived with HIV for 30 years now, and I'm still counting because I'm still strong. Now the Africans have started living with it, which is a disappointment because this was not the mission HIV was brought. This is not the reason why HIV was introduced to Africa. HIV was introduced to depopulate Africa's population. Now, if people are capable of living with HIV for apparently 40 years since day one of infection, they live for more 40 years, that means their goal is no longer working. Now they are trying to change. They're saying, all right, so now we are introducing vaccinations that if you're HIV positive, you go and they vaccinate you. Now people are going to die terribly, terribly. Just like we've gotten used to malaria, that we would treat malaria home with home remedies and we get cured. That malaria, when malaria came, the moment it attacks someone, they would die instantly. To the world. How? Nedda, obudde bukyaliyo bungi abo. Tutulwali kakoola. Awawa. Tekibike light. So, so those are the things that actually. So now when they know that Africans are having a mechanism of fighting back, what they do, definitely they introduce another plan B to play within um the same thing. But like I always say, we are blessed to a certain extent that we always maneuver through. We always come out and emerge winners. Because if we were not as strong as we are created, I believe we would be no more. Because a lot has been done, but we are still living and we are managing and we are handling shit the way they couldn't believe that we would handle. And I feel like our mechanism, our immune system, uh, actually. Ng'eddakiika zikyali 11.
Tugenda zimalayo weda nfayita tukole ssaawa emu gwe.
Kati ewedde.
Tulabe okyabeera ku vaccines.
So that is twogere ku ki ekirala mpaayo.
Of course, our diseases, we have wars, we have anti ate awo si we twavudde, so we wagambidde ebigundi byo ozo si we twavudde. Yongeza probably kankwatemu wano kati kankwatemu wano. Ati nakitegedde ojja So a lot has been put out to depopulate African countries, and people are They don't realize this.
Mm.
So we have other forms of measures that have been put out to depopulate Africa. I don't know for which reasons.
Mm.
See, I don't know for which
Oh,
reason.
God,
Like,
depopulating.
for which reason? Why do they depopulate us?
Because they want to take all Africa.
Um, we
They
have
want to have free resources. They want just to have to own these things that you are owning.
we have other things, family planning
Yes, yes, yes. Talk about
programs.
that. Yeah.
We have family planning programs in African countries. These are things that have been provided everywhere in Africa at cheaper prices. At times they're even free. They
They're
are.
free.
Mm.
Yeah, I think
Nze ndaba ebyo ebintu by'Mali stops.
they're
They,
different.
yeah, they call upon young girls. They teach you how to use those contraceptive pills. Those bugundi obwo bwe babukozesa omwo
Buno nakiwalina.
bwe basonseka mu ndeene mu basolo,
Kati gwe nabamala bakanteekayo okajjayo.
anti oba okawo naye kabeera wala. It is normally far. It is shaped like that, the ovary, like that T4. Eh? Those things are bad.
Anti wange bakamuteekamu ne kabula.
Kabula
Ne kabulirayo ne kagenda kamugala n'abaana. Ayagala ozaala nga kagaddewo.
bamulongosa bulongosa.
Ate kati yazaala mukka. Bamulongosa okajjamu omulago nga kayingirira omwo mu masavu ka blocking fallopian tube. Kati nange ne mmala nkakozesa kayinza osigalayo.
So most of these family planning programs that have been introduced to African countries, they have used the governments in Africa to supply these to supply and to be the to be the pioneers. See omutandisi.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
spearhead these programs, because we see, and actually they don't give the real side effects of um, these kind of programs, the family planning programs.
And the government usually embraces or supports those things because it comes with some funding. Second, it comes with the facilitation money. You think it's the government that facilitates these family planning things? Not even. It does not even facilitate vaccination. It comes with that money from World Health
Because
Organization.
I normally see, like, I used to see a lot of cars used to move around our village. Maybe in with speakers, they shout out
Naye kati nowadays
they use they,
n'okusakamusaiza nga nako ntandise okubuusabuusa kubanga bakususiza.
nze ate when I was during my years, ate nze nalaba bwe bakusussa. Nze ate kyenzijukira, what I remember very well, when I was circumcised, they I was unconscious. Kale nali awo nga mpulira kamunguluze. I nearly fainted after that process. But they operated me when I'm seeing. I could wake up. I could wake up and see they were collecting my blood. And bakutwala era nga wonaagugaba ewano forcefully.
Bakukuggyako.
Yeah, omanyi omusaayi guyita mungi. Yeah, omusaayi gugenda mungi, so nze ngamba that is the incense. They use it to collect blood. Because okusala obusazi omuntu.
Omusaayi bamuggyako bw'ati. But anyway, so this vaccination thing,
Family planning.
the family planning, um, you know, there are things that are bad
Mm.
and people don't
And
see.
these are programs that have been done and have become successful in Africa.
Very, 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 very successful, very successful, to the point that people don't look at the effects they
Mm.
have caused.
Mm.
Now, yeah,
Mm.
there are things that let me mention to you this.
Mm.
When you're getting vaccinated, when you're getting family planning shots or medicines,
Mm.
two things usually happen. One, when it's about family planning, your name is never indicated
Mm.
anywhere. Ushtegede? When you're getting shots, your name is never indicated
Mm.
anywhere. Apart from the COVID-19, where they were forcefully taking, and I think they were using this just to
Mm.
scare people so that people can come. Well, why is it they only tally? You know, tallying.
Mm.
Wabero was zero. You know, my mom was a medical person. When you come, you say, I'm Maria. They tally, Nebaka Sala.
Mm.
That is Maria 1.
Mm.
They do these things statistically that in case things go wrong, there is no way you can show evidence that I was taking this kind of medication. Segeda, because you are never written anywhere, even when you go to the hospital.
Mm.
There is nowhere you are written.
Mm.
Nti, I have received this family planning medicine or this shot from this specific hospital. And if in case anything doesn't go right, because these people know with the future,
Mm.
people will wake up and see the reality, and people uh will be blaming people, will be blaming hospitals. Side effects of what? Total day.
Family planning.
Mood changes,
Mm.
breast tenderness, weight gain, headaches, missed periods, vaginal discharges, and those ones are just minor.
Mm.
They're just minor. But if you when you look at all the things, if at all something was spot between periods, breakthrough bleeding, spotting, okay, nausea, breast tender, weight gain, mood changes, missed breast libido, decreased libido.
Mm.
When you look at all the things, professionally, if I come to the hospital, okay, and probably I'm sick, I need medical services, why? I know that the moment I come, my name will be first thing that you are going to register so that you can keep tracking, okay?
Mm.
So that you can keep, that follow-up purpose. But when it comes to this dangerous, it's like there's black market you know it's like black market.
Mm.
They are doing these things and they know they are illegal. They're drugs. That's why at the end of the day your name can never be indicated anywhere, so you cannot come and question people that you have done this to me and blah blah has happened. They'll ask you where, come and check, this is what, where, because your name is usually not indicated. I don't see the reason why names of people who carry on, who are being carried or sorry, people who have been done uh, uh, with this kind of vaccinations and medicines not indicated in their books. So that still leaves a question mark. Then two, we have had um for a long time, most of the instruments badengenda kwogera kyokobedda kijja nga kigenda.
Ennaku looza sirowooza oba mmere yentudde mu mutwe sirowooza tugamba
Epiikiriza nnyo
akwepikya
okwepikya kwaleera bwe bumakya.
si kikulu ekyo nnyo naye tebatugambye nga nawe gakwasa otulo neema sirowooza to be sincere, but we know that long-term side effects of birth control pills may be include a high risk of blood clots and some cancers. So you may be fighting to not to give birth, but when you in real sense you're creating something that is going to take you easily. You're preventing birth, but something is going to take you. We see high risks of blood clots and some cancers. Kitegeera?
So they know. First of all, you can see from their indications that some other people, the problem they have, they take it for a very long time without a break. Sure.
Mm.
I've had friends who have been doing that, and at times, I don't know what to think. Alina ebintu byasitravulina nabyo nga biribyaki ate yaba tamanyi nti byebyo ebintu naye nomala omugamba nti balya naawe ate bampitanga musiru nze naye fuuca weetaatuuka
Huh?
ampita musiru saba najampita musiru ate amuze siri shaapu bulungi
Sharpness kiryategeeza. Huh? Kuba buli abasajja
ndowooza
oba real life.
ndowooza buli kimu
Eh.
because me there is a way I judge things bo nga balaba nti yakisiru but ate nze nga nzinamye mba ndaba basiru naye nga we are friends ate nga mbeererawo kisa mukubira kati essimu sawe nemugandira kyenjagala n'atakikola namungamba njagala ongulira ekintu bwe kiti yiriba oba kiri mu kikuubo obawo akugamba mpamu eddaki so that is naye nga bo balina engeri gye banzuumingamu
Ate kisaanira n'obaleka bwotyo.
mbaleka bwenti kubanza kati nina ebintu byendabanga nzenna nze nsobola bikola naye tetufunye bantu bonaona tulina ku Facebook ekintu kyemali njagala okwogera kibuuse ogira oyogera
Genda ku gundi endala.
oyogera endala kyemali njagala kikino. So we've also had this issue. I was trying to remember what I wanted to talk about. For a very long time, there are things that have been going on, more especially with these medicines. I don't know why Africa accepts those medicines without running tests or retesting. Because I don't know why our leaders are so careless that the only guarantee they see to the lives of their citizens is that guarantee that comes along with the Western pharmaceuticals. If the moment the Western pharmaceuticals say that this medicine is okay for Black people, for Africans, the African leaders start using those medicines. But it would be so important that we create our own, laboratories where we still run the tests of these medicines to make sure that the medicines to our people are actually meaning good, that actually fit in the stereotype. That actually fit within the African people. But Africans have, for a very long time, the moment World Health Organization introduces stuff, the African leaders are like, all right, we are going to do it. Bring that medicine, take it down to Africans without us having to retest. At least we need that time. If the World Health Organization says we are introducing the malaria vaccination, let the African leaders say, all right, it's okay, but we are taking them and we are still running tests. So it's going to take us apparently like a month or 6 for us to make sure that the vaccination have been observed. And of course, we have studied and we know they are going to be favorable or they are going to act the way you people say it, rather than just picking whatever it is without us having testing whatever and in allowing our people to consume it without us being sure of what of the significance position the things are going to, of course, put our people into. So this is a greater weakness that we're having. I recall last time, some years back, I read a newspaper where the Kenyan women were demonstrating. I usually talk about this thing after Kenyan women were demonstrating that their husbands are not sexually satisfying them, and they were moving on the street. Others started stripping themselves naked and falling in the mud and shit like that. After a long run, they came to understand that actually the problem wasn't with their men, but it was with the women themselves. They were usually getting this tetanus vaccination, and it was they were releasing chemicals that were causing, discomfort and some stuff with during that time with their men and stuff. Now you can understand that people after that is when they had to run these tests. After people are reacting, and after people falling prey to this or succumbing to these kind of situations, then you start running a test. You're running a test over something that has been administered to your people for over years. Now that if you run a test, what now? Are you going to give us a solution? Even if you put a stop and say we are not going to do this shit anymore, no more this kind of medicine, how about those people who have already absorbed it? How about those people who have received it? How about those people? So I feel like before it is too late, African governments need to come out, and even if maybe they don't want to deny, but of course, if you want aid coming, because there is aid facilitation that comes along, they will buy for you cars, for example, that are going to, you've seen cars that are of COVID-19, you've seen cars that are of family planning. They'll buy you cars, they'll buy you equipment in your hospitals, and all these equipments are being bought by the World Health Organization. They'll buy you cars that are going to facilitate your movements, Prados, Pajeros, to deep in the forest, in the villages. So they facilitate, because the first thing they introduce this kind of things, the government leaders ask themselves, all right, so how are we going to manage going down there where you guys want us to go? Now they are lobbying for cars. And the fuel, Abu, the laptop is going down. There is no electricity. Electricity is going. Electricity is going.
Yeah, no, no, it's on. I don't know
Okay.
why it is down.
Yeah, I was like, well, how can it be gone when the Wi-Fi is on?
Is it okay? Is it okay?
No,
Not yet.
no. It's the switch. Maybe the switch is off.
True that. Is it okay?
No.
Nakubera all very good. When this one is down also.
Yeah.
Hmm?
It's sparking. The socket is sparking.
From where? From here.
I don't know. Yeah, it's charging now.
Okay.
So I feel like this is something that, of course, our leaders are lacking. Ìjọba sọ̀kò.
Hmm?
Ìjọba sọ̀kò. Ìjọba sọ̀kò.
Buli kino baita obutakeera. So what? Shetutuddemu.
Just ngaliachika abimba.
Okay. So another intended agenda, something that is on the agenda of these people that has caused depopulation in African countries. These people are funding conflicts in Africa. We have very many conflicts in Africa, and the major ones currently are um, poverty.
Yeah, there's still the Fulani.
Ash,
Fulani watajibu.
ash. What? So over years, Africa has been experiencing conflicts. On we know some of the famous conflicts in history. We know about the Fulani War, um, the Boko Haram insurgency,
Wars
Anglo
in Congo.
wars in Congo,
Yeah.
Southern Sudan,
Central Republic.
Central Republic.
Sierra Leone.
Yeah. So all these conflicts that we have had in Africa over time, being supported by the Westerners, by the Western people, they have real caused a lot of people to die from these wars, a lot of soldiers, a lot of kids and women to die in these wars that we know.
Civilian soldiers, whatever.
Mm. And
Everybody died.
yeah, they've been killed over time in these wars. This has led to depopulation, displacement of people, refugee very many okimanyi abantu bafiira nnyo mu refugee camps.
Ate we wabeera those infectious diseases. Refugees camp, it's where they target cholera, Ebola.
HIV.
Yeah, they target refugee camps a lot, and refugee camps have too much connection with the United Nations agencies. I don't know why they usually target them. There's too much of HIV/AIDS within the camps,
The refugee
cholera,
camps.
Ebola, and all those infectious diseases within the camps.
Yeah. Yet they are the same people that are supporting these conflicts. Look at the rebel groups that we have in Congo. A lot of, recently the M23 they killed very many people along that Uganda Kampala Uganda Congo border. Uganda Kampala border. Tudadda. Kati nampulira sitegera bulungi. Tugenda kukolera waggulu. Tugenda tukolereko mu studio. Tujja kulera ng'ettaano. Anti jjukira olina okusasula omusolo ogw'omwezi. Gubeera gwa 13 oba 4. Tujja kugula kalabisa. So,
Owulira musinga
ngenda si kumisinga ne
mumuyambi.
oba tudde wali munda.
Kati ngenda sooka nfumbe ndekewo emmere tulabe tugende. Tuleme okulaba tuli mmere. Oba akudda kiro
Tujja budda kiro.
kyetuulya emisana.
Obuzibu gendayo ng'amasannyalaze gayonooneka bwonoonyi. Suubira nti gaali gatuuse okuggwaako.
Oli wagamba gaaliwo mangi tetulina ne kye twagakozesa.
Tujja kuloodingako.
Dakiika zitambudde mu mmeka?
Ziri 28.
Bala tezinawala n'asatu. Abuli.
So wars we have in Africa, we have very many people that have been killed in wars that have been supported by the Western people in African countries. A lot of people that have died of hunger because, of course, if a war is somewhere, people are unable to do other activities, rather running here and there. They cannot do gardening, they cannot do cultivation for their crops. So people have died of hunger and famine in African country. Mkwana, ekikuni nga wakitaddewo bubi kino. Omupiira dingenadde ekitaddewo zenna ninga ali muheere. So people, if a war is somewhere, people don't have that time to go in gardens. So we see very many people dying of hunger in African countries, and the measures these policy implementers, these people that are creating these agendas to of course fight or populations in Africa, to depopulate Africa, they look at the food security. So if food is not there, okimanyi nti bano abantu bakimanyi nti olutalo olubeerawo, people are unable to go in gardens. That's why they come with we see World Food Program during wars. We see UN supporting giving out food during wars to people. Okitegeera, because they know if you're running up and down, you won't be able to go in the garden, you won't be able to do anything for. Okitegeera, you keep on fighting, they provide you with the food to keep you comfortable. Yes, to keep you comfortable and focused on fighting. Okitegeera, so people have died of hunger.
Yeah. Asatu mu mwenda.
Kagundi kadde kalabise bulungi ka lighting naye obwendiko pulira sirowooza kulimba kibi.
Olabika bulungi.
Pulira sirowooza naawe. Pulira sirowooza.
Lowooza nno.
Yogera. Kulongo bikumulamu aleka kawalagi kakyakuliko. Nakimanyi kadde tekatamiiza. Kadde tekatamiiza.
Nze ndaba watabudde.
Owaayo. Ati ze kugamize. Nze obulalu bwange tebwetaagisa kuba nti nina kyentadde. I can become mad even when I have not taken anything. Nze tekineetaagisa kusooka kugenda wanti essaawa eyo eddakiika eyo ngattirawo. Ekituufu kiri ti point zero tuzirina naye.
Nzizaayo mbu ku kintu kyonjogereko.
I've been talking about wars.
Mpayo ki PDF kyawe.
Teri ki PDF na kimu. Ebintu nga byekyanze.
Anyway. The wars in Africa, by the way, always people keep on asking like, why is it important that these people keep us fighting? Why is it important that these people keep us fighting? Why is it important that these people keep us fighting all the time? The reason why we see these wars going on in Africa and nobody talking about them is because they are important. Unless Africans ngaffe tusituka ne twekubira omulanga. Unless Africans, we as Africans wake up and of course start letting the world know what is going on, what is happening, or what is taking place in Africa. People don't want to know. People don't want to let their business known to the world. If you look at a country like Congo, Congo is one of the biggest countries, among the big countries. It's among the big countries in Africa. You cannot mention big countries and not mention Congo. But Congo's population should have been bigger than it is, if not for the insecurities that are going on within the Central Republic of Congo. A lot of insurgencies. We've seen a lot of deaths reporting within Congo is a country in a death, sicknesses. You understand?
Yeah.
The next time you hear that Ebola is in Congo, the next time you hear that cholera is in Congo, the next time you hear staph is in Congo, you cannot be killing these people and also on top of that you add the diseases because they want the population of Congo reduced. It is important for Congo's population to reduce so that they can still have access to those minerals. So that people should, so they want to claim. Because now imagine, like, if let me assume that if we had gold around here where we are right now, and then a war erupts within this area, I can tell you we shall all run, and the people who are fighting will come and occupy the area. That's why we have a lot of United Nations US Army basing in the Congo wells where the minerals are harvested. So it is important, once we depopulate the people, once people become scarce, then you start occupying those places those people have left. Now this is the reason behind the depopulation. If Africans get depopulated, now we are seeing the way Chinese want to come down. Together. So it is important for Africa to be depopulated so that China can also have a peace. The next time we have seen countries, we have seen Korea. Recently, they are advocating for African women to go to Korea. And yeah, they're advocating for African women to go to Korea. And they're saying if you are going to Korea on a spouse visa, whether you have dated a Korean man online, you can have a quick visa to Korea. You can go to Korea if you sign contracts that you are going to Korea to have Korea children, to sleep with Korean men and have children. Why? Because their birth rate is low. Tebali mu kuzaala. First of all, Korea in incidents in it was depopulating.
Wait, South
even
Korea or North Korea?
Korea ina akantu akared mumakati.
Let me see here.
Let me see. Let me see. If that is ate, first of all, balinganga bagamba bateeka abantu kuninga they shouldn't have children. Now it is fighting to have children. Flag.
This one,
South
Korea. I think South Korea. About men.
Harani, mwagala kugendayo. Agenda nawe oyinza okuttabukako n'ogamba ngenze. Nawe babadde oba osuse. So if those people are doing such a thing now, and yet for Africa they are saying temuzaala. Okiwulira? Muzaalazaala nnyo. Ate kati bo banoonya bakazi baffe kugenda kuzaala ki? Baana to populate. So the whole story is a weird one, but for that it is important. It is important for Africans to have children and protect their legacy, because apparently everyone is up against the Africans. So if you cannot create our own army, there is no way you're going to create somebody else's army when you don't have your own. You cannot wake up and notanga ordering abaana b'abantu nga gwe tolina babo. Okitegeera? So example gitandikisewo start.
Look poses. We are poses.
Ngatadde mu kafurizi. So at that time
Ngalaba. I
Agenda ndakachupa akakwatitwara wena
nzogamba menjaitisa.
Daddy position. And then they go get. But we have lost them. We have lost them. Commenting, Baba. Tina Maria, you are frozen. And then they come up, you are freezing, kumbe. Omutakoli the pause. Ah. Ahem. Abuyi wabula eddakiika mwenda. Mumaye okugamba bo.
Wekanga mukati niyo nomukozia. Wekanga mukati ninoddayo. Wekanga mukati noppa.
Hey, where are you, Chacha?
But I have something I want to ask you. Besides all the agendas, all the measures that are being put out by the Western countries to depopulate African countries, I want to ask you something. Besides Africa still having the fastest the fastest growing population in the whole world. Is it that Africa it is the continent with the highest population?
Kati.
Yeah, currently.
Sichua, there's a
So,
but Sichua, although which country has the highest population? No, I understand. Asia.
We look at Asia. Do they put such measures in Asia?
And you remember there is a time.
I don't see very many wars in Asia.
No, the reason why they want Africa in particular is because Africa, you cannot compare Africa to these other. First of all, resources, we have a lot of minerals. Two, in a good climate. Africa is deeply rooted. These other continents, by the way, they are floating. Because like I remember one time I told you that these other continents, as you see them, was collecting as on they fit in Africa. So apparently zo zikutukako Africa yetatambula. Africa ye continent yokka etali mu kutambula. Ziri zonna ziringa island.
Yeah.
Ziseeyeeya ku mazzi. Kati gwe ekintu kyo okubeera nga buli kimu ky'obala obalira ku kintu ekitambula, your future is not certain. Kuba tomanyi enkya kikutwala wa. Oba kitegeera? Kati Africa, if it is the only continent that is deep rooted into Mother Earth, Africa does not move, it does not float, it is where it has ever been and it is still there. So these others, that's why next time osanga a Mediterranean Sea ever expanding, Atlantic Ocean is expanding, Indian Ocean is expanding, and ochitegera nga be expanding at a certain time nga really narrow, so their distance is not physical. Atunogera nola Asia hii enatera okutuuka ku Europe, America inetambula, it's going far away. So tebali so certain about their existence. Nayenga, for them, they claim they have future plans. They have long future plans that the fact that where they are, it scares them. Kati, this Africa is of interest. First of all, the climate, for everything about Africa is perfect. That they feel like if zinenchima zo ziba zityanga owning such a beautiful treasury land. We have seen people kill inhabitants. We have seen there are black people in Peru recently. This was recent, not even long ago. That it was in the Kenyonyi Zombiliro nga zita the black people in Peru. Nyonyi nga ziwanda muliro. Not even long, over last year. Situation ya Peru wajiwulira. Because differently Peru batta abantu mu Peru. So Chiravi, the bloodshed will never be forgotten. Some shouted while carrying black the violence a severe test for Peru's democracy. Is there was abantu batibwa mu Peru. Abantu baali baleeta okwekalakaasa. Baafokasinga ate nnyo ku baddugavu abali mu Peru. Peru yalina abantu nga bali eyo deep mu byalo eyo nga tebamanyi na bulamu bwa kibuga. Okitegeera? Peru's beach black after Toga eruption. Nga bali byabwe. But these people were murdered. We have seen how black people were killed in Asia. We have seen how how the black race was wiped away completely in China. We have seen how black people were, but Chinese, but they were black. Black, but samurai. The samurais were not Chinese, never. They were black Chinese, samurai. Samurais were dark skinned. Sorry, the Japanese. By never samurais, the Japanese samurais are black. Era n'omuntu aba samurai abasooka they were black people. But how do they go ahead nga batta? To the point that when you look at Japan, talking the same naye waliyo abatali era abaddugavu mwe bali batini. Ate bali be indigenous people. Batuuka batya okulaba mu Japan omuntu yenna n'omuddugavu atibwa naggwaawo. How come mu China abantu abaddugavu bonna battibwa ne bagaawo? They even wanted to do the same thing in America. They even wanted to do the same thing mu Germany. It is a war that has been waged kubanga we black people we are superior. Now we are still naive, but we don't accept and we don't know that tuli bantu ba muwendo. Kati killing us okwagala okutujjawo, it gives them room okusigala oku-owning ettaka. Bwe batudepopulatinga, that means there is 100 guarantee nti n'abaliwo bajja kufa bakole ki? Bagwewo nga temuzaala. That means akaseera kajja tuuka when the Chinese bali able okujja waneeno, because the population will not be huge. There is a chance nti n'Abamerika abazungu bajja okujja batuule wano kubanga the population will be theirs.
Mm.
Australia. So they are like creating room for their future plans on this land, and this is why they want African evacuated, not evacuated to another place, not evacuated to a normal, no land, no man's land. But anyway, that is life, and that is Africa. Until we wake up and realize the truth, I see Africa, of course, still being prey and not understand. Thank you so much for loving and supporting Black Hot Fire Network. It has been Africa Maria from Kampala, Uganda, with my colleague INNOSSETU. We are seeing you yet on another episode that is coming this very day, and of course, later in the afternoon. We are so happy that you guys have been with us throughout this time. Looking forward to meeting you again. Also, bye bye. Kwaheri.